KREF app.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
It's OU Texas week, folks. And we're getting closer and closer and closer. It's rare, Grayson Singleton, that I legitimately feel myself kind of tingling with anticipation.
The heart palpitations coming in now?
I wouldn't say heart palpitations.
Palpitations,
more just,
yes.
Yeah, more so just the, it's almost like, how could you describe it? I'm not even really sure. If you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like there's a sense of excitement that is genuinely percolating within you. And that's always how I get right around Wednesday of OU Texas week. We're 72 hours away, folks. 72 hours away from OU Texas at the Cotton Bowl. I, for one, am stoked.
Yeah.
As I know so many of you are as well. But while we have another 72 hours to break down this game from all angles, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on in the show, especially John Mateer's status, things you can expect on the availability report tonight, and the like, we do need to start with recruiting because, well, that's the crux of our show around here, Mr. Singleton. First and foremost, want to remind you that if you want to chime in throughout the show, the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is open to you at 405-651-3439. And the show is brought to you every single day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, well, GMC offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. So head out to Dorsey Jones, check out their low-pressure sales environment, and take advantage of their fantastic service as well, including their iconic half-price oil changes on Saturdays. That's Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Grayson, it became official last night. 4-star wide receiver Milan Parris is back on the open market. Now, as we had discussed on this show Monday, particularly in the aftermath of his official visit to Oklahoma, the feeling was that his pledge to Iowa State, rather, not Ohio State, but Iowa State, his pledge to Iowa State was not going to stick. He was going to back off the pledge to the Cyclones. Now, here's a little bit of color that I can add to the whole situation. First and foremost, from all the sources I've spoken with about this recruitment, Parris's official visit to Oklahoma went brilliantly. They feel great about their staying power in that recruitment. However, before Parris makes any sort of decision, he's going to take official visits to Oregon and to Miami. At this point, it's a three-way battle. Oklahoma, Oregon, Miami. What do those three teams have in common right now, Grayson?
They're all pretty damn good.
They're all undefeated.
And they're undefeated,
So,
yes.
yeah. I mean, you're splitting hairs as far as the product on the football field.
If that's what you're really concerned about right now, which team is putting on the best product, you've come to the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely subjective. There's no clear answer. Nobody has separated themselves in that regard. Some would say Oregon is the best of the three. Some would say Miami. Some still would say Oklahoma. Who's to say? We'll find out as the season unfolds. But all of those teams have hit the right marks on the football field. And so, again, that's probably not going to be the thing that proves decisive in this recruitment. What's the common denominator between Oregon and Miami specifically?
Them dollars and cents.
Dollars and cents indeed. And so that right there is what ought to make you a little bit skeptical if you're an OU fan. Here's the sense that I've gotten about the Parris recruitment. Culturally, he fits best at Oklahoma. His family seems to have a preference for Oklahoma. Geographically speaking, it's a lot easier to get to Norman, Oklahoma from Akron, Ohio than it is to get to Miami or to get to Eugene, Oregon. You ever tried to get to Eugene, Oregon,
I was
Grayson?
about to say, I don't think I care where you're coming from. Eugene, Oregon just doesn't sound like a very easy place to get to.
It's not. Matter of fact, I flew into Eugene, Oregon this spring. And basically, you got to go to like one. There are like 3 or 4 airports that fly directly into Eugene.
Okay.
It takes some coordination to get there. Either that or you got to fly into one of the bigger airports in Oregon and be on the road for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's beautiful once you get there, but getting there is the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of factors that are working in Oklahoma's favor here. And I will say this, the Sooners are motivated to put a fair figure in front of Parris in terms of his compensatory value. They're inclined to pay up for Parris because they love him as a prospect. Love him as a prospect. The problem is you're going up against Miami and Oregon, 2 programs that have demonstrated in recent years that they are, in some cases, willing to take the bidding price well beyond market value.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a certain level of, just cross your fingers if you're an OU fan, because Oklahoma's not going to, they're not going to pay $1 million for Milan Parris, right? But Oregon or Miami might. If Oregon or Miami decides, hey, you know what, we got to have this guy. This guy is somebody that we need in our system, in our offense. This is somebody that's going to make us substantially better and has a legit NFL future, and we're going to do what it takes to get him. Well, then you're kind of up a creek at that point.
Yeah, you are. A texter in the 405, I want to answer this one. Is Bo Bentley active on the recruiting front with this one? Yes, you bet your ass he is. He absolutely is. Now, I kind of feel bad for Iowa State on this one because it seemed like he liked Iowa State. And Iowa State,
Man.
by the way, you talk about teams putting on a good football product this year. I know they just got blitzed by Cincinnati over the weekend, but they've been a good team this year. So I kind of feel bad for Iowa State in this sense. But, you know, I think the solace you should get with this one, if you're worried about Miami or Oregon, and this one is kind of directed at Miami, if he's a really good culture fit for Oklahoma, I don't know how much of a culture fit he is for Miami.
Well, no doubt. No
Because-
doubt. And that's what you're hoping for.
And look, Mario Cristobal has been a good culture coach, even though he's fumbled some things as the head coach of Miami. But if you're talking about places in the world, there aren't many more polar opposites than Norman, Oklahoma, and Miami, Florida. So if you're a culture fit for Norman, I got a pretty keen sense you may not be a great culture fit for Miami. Now, that being said, he does like Miami. He has noted that Miami has been one of the schools that have been pushing hardest for him for the longest time. So there is that color that you have to bring to the conversation. But the money thing to me is interesting. And when you said that, I know they're in 2 different classes, but there can be money that comes up for a guy like Milan Parris when you lose out on Peyton Houston. Like I do think that does matter. So there is a there is a bright side possibly to losing out on some high-value type of recruits if it opens the books for you to be able to get in late with somebody in this particular situation. Plus, you've got your quarterback in the 2026 class in Bo Bentley. So, again, like I've said, that kind of gives you a buffer for 2027, even though in a perfect world you would take a 2027 high prospect. So, I think there's a lot of things working here, both intrinsically with this situation and some outside factors as well for Oklahoma. Now it just becomes how much can you get in, how much ground can you make up in the bidding war if it comes to that.
I'm going to take you guys behind the paywall for a second, give you a peek behind the paywall because, well, I'm employed by Rivals.com. I can do that. When Milan Parris discussed his official visit to Oklahoma last night with the great Steve Wiltfong and previewed his upcoming visits to Oregon and Miami, one thing he said about Oklahoma was, I'd love to get down there again for another game.
He did say that.
And that right there is what you should be leveraging for if you're the OU staff. What you should absolutely be doing is making every effort to get Milan Parris back on campus in November for either the Missouri game or the LSU game. If that happens, I love OU's chances. How can you not? Between the 3 finalists at that point, not only would they have gotten the chance to make the first impression, but they would also have gotten the chance to make the last.
Especially if it's the LSU weekend.
And so, if you have 2 visits to Oklahoma, bookending his experiences at Oregon and Miami, I mean, conventional wisdom would suggest at that point Oklahoma's in the driver's seat to get it done.
I agree.
And so that's going to be something to watch. If Oklahoma gets Milan Parris back on campus at any point, then I think the likelihood that he is in the Sooners class goes way up.
Because at that point, you are, 2-3 weeks away from signing day. At that point, if he comes back the Missouri weekend or the LSU weekend.
Evan from Blanchard, yep, that's part and parcel of the Miami sell right there. Not a text I'm going to read on air, but you're on the right track. You're on the right track. That's something Miami's going to lean on.
Jim in Arlington says, hopefully Michael Irvin doesn't try to take over and have his say with this receiver. And that right there is an interesting point, because if you care about lineage and history and stuff like that, like a lot of our listeners do, you can't get a whole lot better than Miami's history at wide receiver.
Oklahoma's got a pretty good history at wide.
I'm not saying they don't.
They do.
Hey, no, no slight whatsoever. No dismissal whatsoever. But Miami's got a pretty good one, too.
At this point, all 3 of those schools, all 3 of those schools can make a pretty solid pitch in that regard. I don't know that any of the 3 stand out head and shoulders above the others.
Yes.
AJ and Edmond says, screw Iowa State. I still remember 2017. I hope OU causes more Iowa State recruits to decommit. You do kind of feel bad for Iowa State because, man, they do this every single year.
They do.
They're so good at getting early evals on dudes that wind up blowing up. Another great example, right? R. Mason Thomas.
I was about to say, who is their scouting director? Because he deserves a raise.
Well, it's been a number of different folks over the years that have contributed to that operation, including John Kuzieski.
Yes.
He was the director of player personnel at Iowa State not more than 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes.
I don't believe. So, yeah, he's been part of that operation at a certain point. The common denominator, obviously, for the last decade has been Matt Campbell. And that likely has quite a bit to do with it. But, yeah, man, Iowa State is one of those programs that, you know, if you're going to have sustained success in a place like Ames, Iowa, that's something you have to do. You have to be spot on with evaluations and the guys that you take. And I will say this, back to AJ's text, I know for a fact that Milan Parris is not the only Iowa State commit with whom Oklahoma is currently communicating. Now, I'm not going to delve much deeper into that because it's pretty surface-level communication right now between Oklahoma and this other Iowa State commit of whom I speak. But there may be another name to know here in the next 2-3 weeks from Iowa State's current class, depending on how things shake out elsewhere with some of the targets that Oklahoma has remaining on the board that they have offered and are actively pursuing.
I got breaking news for you.
Yes,
I don't know if you guys have delved into this at all.
Breaking news. Let's hear it.
The betting line for Red River has switched.
Oh, it's switched.
Overnight. It is. The Sooners are now a 1.5 favorite.
Boom. There it is, folks. Yep, you tell me. You tell me, is John Mateer playing in this football game? Vegas always knows something. And so if you don't take my word for it, take Vegas's word for it.
I mean, that line kept creeping closer and closer and closer to Oklahoma over the last 36 hours. I don't think the line goes any higher than Oklahoma minus 2.5 if it gets there.
I would say it could get to 3.5. That's probably
Really?
Yeah, it could.
I don't know.
I mean, if it's already here on Wednesday, I do think, especially now that it's kind of becoming obvious to the general public that Mateer is likely to play in the football game, I think that line could move by another couple points. I think it very well could.
Okay.
And obviously, a lot of the public betting doesn't hit until Thursday or Friday.
This is true.
Yeah, we'll see where that line ends up here by the time kickoff rolls around on Saturday. But wow, there you go. Oklahoma officially the favorite in the Red River Shootout.
That over-under is still 43.5.
Lost City Sooner says, is Grayson going to be on the sideline with his crimson and cream body paint on? We're making this happen, correct?
No, I will not be able to. I will not be able to go down there. But you guys will hear from me after the game. I did see a photo over the weekend of you wearing a Sooners jersey. What photo? Oh. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I know what you're talking.
Uh-huh.
Was I in a jersey or that? I was.
Yeah, you were in a jersey.
Yeah, I was in a jersey.
What do you mean, was I in a jersey?
I couldn't remember which game day I took that. I couldn't remember which game day I took that picture with my girlfriend.
Yep.
Who posted that picture. Yes.
Folks, good news here is that Grayson is serious enough with the lady friend that he is willing to don the crimson and cream.
That has happened.
And for this, we are proud. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Let's talk more recruiting on the other side, including a commitment on which Oklahoma is actively closing in. Keep it right here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Beat Texas Week on the Ref is brought to you by Boyd Street Ventures. Visit BoydStreetVentures.com to see how Boyd Street Ventures is bringing OU innovation to the world. Boyd Street Ventures, under the radar, above the crowd.
Feeling stuck in your current home? Now is the best time to make a move. Home Creations is making home ownership more affordable with low interest rate opportunities and special financing. Don't wait. Live like a champion today. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to find your dream home.
364-9999 means Home Creations.
We all play a role in keeping our communities safe. Oklahoma is no stranger to attacks. It's now easier than ever. If you see something, say something. The free and anonymous Protect OK app allows instant reporting of suspicious activity, both in schools and the community. You can help keep your family and friends safe.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Download the Protect OK app today in the Apple App or Google Play stores. Funded by the Oklahoma Office of Homeland Security.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Some places just get it right every single time. At Charleston's in Norman, we're serving up comfort classics like slow-roasted prime rib, chicken tender platters, and warm croissants with honey butter.
For date nights, family meals, or weekday lunches, make it Charleston's. Charleston's in Norman, where consistency meets quality. Tune in every Friday to hear more about the Hal Smith Restaurant Group during the Rush and the Dari Noka Show here on The Ref.
The one thing that we're most proud of here at Lewis Jewelers is our reputation. We didn't have the good fortune of inheriting a jewelry business from our dad or our granddad. My brother Glenn and I started our business 40 years ago as a means to pay for college, and we took turns going to class and running the store. We've always had to work harder at earning your business. We're known for making quality jewelry at affordable prices and delivering service, and we built that reputation one customer at a time. I'm Tim Lewis, and if you're ready to buy an engagement ring, visit us here at Lewis Jewelers. We have so many different rings to choose from that your biggest problem will be deciding which one you like best. And we still work harder to earn your business. Why don't you come in and tell us what it would take to become your jeweler? Lewis Jewelers is on I-35 and more. We want to be your jeweler. Call us at 703-4644. A diamond is forever.
When it comes to buying a home, you need a winning game plan. At Stride Bank, our mortgage team helps you get from kickoff to closing with competitive rates, local expertise, and personalized service. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, we'll be right there on the field with you. Learn more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Stride Bank on your team since 1913 with Oklahoma roots and nationwide reach.
This is Jake Aldridge, partner at Aldridge Teasdale. We know accidents happen when you least expect them, but if you're injured, your path to recovery and justice starts with the right attorney by your side. At Aldridge Teasdale, we understand that every injury is personal and that every story matters. You deserve an advocate who will fight for you. But don't wait. If you need medical assistance, you need to get it now, and we can help you with access to the best doctors in Oklahoma. Call Aldridge Teasdale today, 405-447-HURT. That's 405-447-4878.
Locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker, Thune, Grayson, Singleton rolling with you on a Wednesday. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is 405-651-3439. 651-3439 is how you get in touch with us via text. Now, Grayson, Oklahoma currently sits at 20 commits with the recent addition of three-star wide receiver Braden Allen. I would say by the end of the month, they are likely to have no fewer than 22. Because I do believe by the end of the month, Oklahoma will secure commitments from three-star offensive tackle Daniel McMorris, right down the road at Norman North, and four-star linebacker Jacob Curry from the state of Florida. Like the way this one's moving for Oklahoma. Not a shock by any means to hear me say that if you've been a regular listener over the last couple of months, because ever since Oklahoma offered, I believe all the way in late July.
I think that's about right.
They have been on track to pull this flip off. It's just been a matter of whether they could hold off, Baylor there for a while, Rutgers was involved, but in recent days it's been Ohio State that had emerged as the primary contender to Oklahoma in the race for Curry, who was at one time committed to Northwestern. So he is no longer committed to Northwestern, backed off that commitment last month, and he has not publicly announced when he's going to be making a decision, but I do think it's going to be pretty soon, Grayson, and I do expect that this is going to go in Oklahoma's favor. He was on his official visit to Ohio State this past weekend, 1 week after taking his official visit to OU. Now, there were tentative plans in place for further visits later on in the fall. I don't know that those happen at this point. I think it's pretty much OU, Ohio State after his official visits to each school respectively, and I do give the Sooners the edge. So, another crackerbacker potentially joining the fold for Brent Venables in Oklahoma.
Speaking of white defenders for this Oklahoma team, I was just watching SportsCenter, and E.J. Manuel for ESPN was talking about how he thinks Taylor Wine is going to be an interesting factor in the game this weekend. I was like, Taylor Wine, that's a good pull, especially from a national commentator.
I love it, man. I love it. National analysis has gotten very surface level the last few years across the realm of college football, and that's particularly why guys like Josh Pate have become so popular.
Yeah,
is because they actually do their homework.
Well,
now,
I think some of these guys naturally do the homework. There's just a lot of homework to do.
There is, no doubt. And that's why I'm glad. You know, there was a time I aspired to cover college football on a national scale. I'm not sure that's really my vision anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Well, okay, I should say this. I wouldn't want to be a national college football analyst. I feel like being a national college football reporter is a different beast. That's something that you could handle. Or like, you know, a job like Dari does on the SEC network where you're anchoring studio shows and you're just kind of directing the conversation, which he does a fantastic job of, and allowing the analysts to kind of bounce back and forth between each other. But if I'm somebody like Greg McElroy, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to have all my homework done on 69 Power 4 teams these days? 69 Power 4 teams
Give or
plus a handful of G5 teams that are serious enough to be in the national conversation in the spotlight. Man, that's a lot of brain power that you got to commit to covering all your bases. And so, mad respect to those that can pull it off.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it has made a lot of lazy analysts, I think, across the country.
And I would be inclined, I don't know if I'd use the word lazy, but I would be inclined to agree with the train of thought. Kyle from Salisaw says, the ginger ninja, oh my God, the ginger ninja, let's go, with the ninja emoji that is usually used to signify other things.
What other things?
Well, it's usually an emoji that, like, black people use when we text each other in place of not typing out the entire N-word.
I know. I was just messing with you.
I just didn't. I feel like there's some people that just learned something new. You know, going back to Jacob Curry, though, how do you think Oklahoma was able to stave off Ohio State for this one?
Well, I mean, they haven't staved off Ohio State yet. Like, we got to wait for the announcement
in terms
to
of the
official,
hypothetical that you're predicting.
Yeah, no,
That's
I do favor Oklahoma to get it done, and I think a lot of it has to do with, for one thing, Oklahoma's defense has looked amazing this year.
Yes.
There is absolutely no question whatsoever about that. He has family ties to the state of Oklahoma. So he has roots in Seminole, Oklahoma, which is about an hour east. Maybe a little bit less than that, but about an hour to the east of the OKC Metro, and more specifically Norman, if you go down Highway 9 there.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got family ties, and I think he understands, as do most, that Brent Venables is going to develop linebackers. If you have the ability, you have the drive, you have the desire to be great, Brent Venables is somebody that can get the most out of you.
Especially with how linebacker rich that coaching staff is. It's very attractive to linebackers with, you know, Venables and Dreiling and Goodwin and the crew down there. Like, it's very attractive.
Scary Gary wants to know, has anyone told Grayson he sounds like Nate Burleson?
You know what? That's the first voice comp that I will say thank you to. I'm a big fan of Nate Burleson, too.
Really?
Yes.
He's mostly on, like isn't he on
He's on, like,
daytime TV now?
Yeah.
Like, he's not a sports guy as much anymore as he is like
he does both, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he on Good Morning America? Is that what it is?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Whichever one of those shows runs on CBS.
Uh-huh. A 405 listener asks, where's Grayson seeing OU -1.5? Lowest I see is +1.
ESPN Bet is where I
if you
saw
just
that.
pull up the ESPN app, it lists Oklahoma via ESPN Bet as a 1.5-point favorite right now.
The producer says, genuine question, do you think these national college football analysts sound alike and come to the same mundane conclusions because they're all using AI for research?
I hope not, man. AI is way too prevalent already. There's way too much AI. Way too much AI. I don't want to get sidetracked here.
Yeah, I would say no because I don't think they all come to the same conclusions.
A 405 listener wants to know, is Grayson going to explain the eggplant and peach emojis next?
Next.
Tattoo Baker says, if they follow me, they would know about the line shift. LOL. Yes, Tattoo Baker has had quite a run on Twitter this week, trolling.
I've seen.
That's what we do on OU Texas Week. A 903 listener says, guys, as soon as the first betting line was announced for the OU Texas game, my bet was placed. Yeah, what did it open as? Texas -3.5, I want to say?
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, you're taking Oklahoma against the 3.5 at that point, easily. There's certainly a world in which Texas ekes out a win, but I don't think this is the type of game where Texas wins by multiple possessions. I could be dead wrong. Maybe we're all dead wrong in evaluating this football game, but it feels like if Texas wins, it's going to be a final possession type of football game. If there's a team that has some runaway potential here, it's Oklahoma.
Yes, and I don't think either team wins this game by multiple possessions.
I hope not, man. And I know there are some that obviously they hope Oklahoma just blows the doors off Texas in the Cotton Bowl every single year, and that's fine. Like, I don't begrudge you for that. I understand that. But also, man, that environment is at its best when it is a tense football game for all 4 quarters, when it comes all the way down to the wire, and we have been fortunate and blessed to have quite a few of those in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, I gave you the statistic that the average score between these two is like 2 points separating in the entirety of the rivalry.
Pastor MC says, Parker, didn't you predict the line change? Yes, I did, Pastor MC, but, I mean, that's not a Nostradamus act by me. That wasn't difficult to foresee if you had an inkling that Jean Mateer was and is going to play in the football game. So, as it becomes more apparent, due in no small part to the evasiveness of one Brent Venables, that Jean Mateer is going to play, or is on track to play, I should say, then...
Speaking of Brent Venables, they practiced inside again yesterday.
They did, but they always do that on Tuesdays. So that's not out of the ordinary.
But it was 70 degrees.
It was 70 degrees, yes. I mean, yeah, look, I think we all understand.
We all know what's going on.
Yeah, we all understand what was
going on.
But it was
fun.
Monday.
When I saw that George Stoya tweet yesterday, I'm not going to lie, I did laugh out loud a little bit.
Poppy Chulo says, I'm getting too old for close games. I hear you, man. When was the last time? Do you have to go back to 2012? I'm trying to think to find the last time that Oklahoma ran away with it. Because with the exception of the 2 blowouts, I'm going to rattle off these results as best I can. So last year it was 34-3 Texas. Year before that, 23, it was 34-30 OU. 2022, it was 49-0, obviously, in favor of the Longhorns.
Yeah.
55-48 and 21. 53-45 and 20. 19, the final score was 31-24. In 18, it was 48-45 in the Cotton Bowl, and then 39-27 in the Big 12 championship game rematch. 2017, I want to say that final was 29-24, Baker to Mark Andrews. 2016, see, this is where it starts to get fuzzy for me. 2016, was that the 45-40 game? Was that the final that year? And then 2015, I remember that one. Gerard Hurd in Texas beat Baker in OU 24-17.
Gerard Hurd, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
That's a pull right there. So, for the last decade, again, when there isn't an extenuating circumstance, such as your starting quarterback is hurt or your entire offensive line is hurt, it's a one-possession game, man. We've become accustomed to it.
Chuck on the YouTube chat, which, by the way, if you didn't know, we are on YouTube. He says, runaway potential. We can't even run the ball. So how are we going to run away, Parker?
Fair. Oklahoma's going to have to run the ball. And they're going to have to play well in the offensive trenches if they're going to run away with this game. And, that can happen, right? That's not out of the realm of possibility. That's not something Oklahoma's incapable of. They're not incapable of running the football. We've seen them run the football effectively at times this year. It certainly hasn't been regular enough for us to feel confident that they're going to come out on Saturday and do that. But they have shown the propensity, they have shown the ability to enjoy some degree of effectiveness in the running game. My big question is this, because I think this is a bigger question than it otherwise would be given John Mateer's injury status. Can you establish a run game that isn't heavily dependent on John Mateer?
Yes. Oh, 100%. And so far, with the exception of the last drive of the game against Michigan, the answer has been a resounding no. Don't really care that you ran for 6 yards per carry against Temple. Quite frankly, I just don't.
And you go back to the Michigan game, Mateer was awesome on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I think the Sooners' leader in rushing among backs was Torrey Blaylock with 24 yards. And so, I mean, if you're getting it, right, by hook or by crook, if you're getting it, that's all that matters. If you're running the ball effectively, I couldn't give a crap if it was John Mateer or Torrey Blaylock or Jaden Ott or Eddie Pierre-Louis or whoever, right? Like if you're continually making progress in the ground game and establishing offensive balance, I don't care who's toting the rock, nor should you. But it is something that Oklahoma's going to have to establish on Saturday because you can't be one-dimensional in a football game like this, not against a roster that is as talented as Texas's, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and expect to win. I think this is going to be a low-scoring football game, man. And I know that's That's not a hot take by any means. A lot of folks are in that same boat, but, man, points feel like they're going to be at a premium Saturday.
I can't remember if I said this yesterday, and I know I told Ted this when I was talking to him on Monday. I don't think either team scores 20 points in this game.
It's very possible.
I just don't.
And in a game like that, you know what you like to have? A special teams unit that you can count on.
And Oklahoma, I don't know how many times over the years that you could have said this, but Oklahoma's got reliable special teams right now in all facets.
Cody from Tulsa asks, what do y'all think the timetable with the injury report on John Mateer is? I believe he'll be doubtful tonight, and Friday will be questionable, and Saturday will be game time decision. I do not think you'll see him listed as doubtful tonight, Cody. I would bet you a lot of money. I would bet you quite a rotund figure that John Mateer is going to be listed as questionable tonight, and he'll be listed as questionable tomorrow night, and he'll be listed as questionable / game time decision as kickoff approaches. I don't think John Mateer will move from that. I mean, questionable in essence becomes game time decision on game day, right?
Yeah.
And so for all intents and purposes, that's going to be John Mateer's status until kickoff on Texas. Or on Saturday, I should say. I can almost assure you of that. I would be stunned if John Mateer at any point is listed as probable. I would be stunned if at any point, including tonight, he is listed as doubtful.
Okay, so you obviously have very, very high confidence that you've expressed on these airwaves that John Mateer is going to play.
Yes.
But you're also saying that he's never going to be listed as anything other than questionable.
Yes.
How is it in college football that we allow people to get away with lying? Like flagrantly misleading people with these injury reports.
I mean, is it misleading, though?
I don't know. All I know is NFL injury reports are generally reliable.
Yeah, no doubt. But here's the thing. The way I've come to regard it is when you're looking at an NFL injury report,
okay,
90% of the time, a guy listed as questionable is going to play.
Yeah.
Would you say that holds true? Because
especially if they're listed as questionable on Thursday.
Yeah.
With some exceptions, but yes.
But even like when you get to later in the week, guys that are listed as questionable, in all likelihood, are going to play. Yes. And I think there's just an understanding, right, that, you know, if you're a man, if you're a man's man, as John Mateer is, and you're kind of in that gray area where you could play or you could not, you don't necessarily feel 100%, but your team needs you, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to power through and you're going to make it work.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the reason why so many of those questionable designations fall toward the positive end of the spectrum and those guys wind up playing. And so, yeah, look, if John Mateer is listed as questionable, I would think it's perfectly understandable that everybody at that point, if they're not already here, is going to start to operate with the belief that Mateer is going to take the first snap for Oklahoma on Saturday. And by the way, what I've heard about Keontez Lewis, pretty good. Pretty good.
Did you see is the report true that they're actually going to put padding on that brick wall now?
That was what Brent Venables said. So
okay.
It depends on if you believe Brent Venables.
So yes, that's right. You're right. It was Venables that said that. Good. Glad it almost took somebody almost dying for you to do that.
Scary Gary says, we should list him with no designation, and then they can't get mad. No, they can, and they would. And Oklahoma would face a hefty fine from the SEC in that case because everyone knows Mateer is injured, right? They know he's rehabbing. They know he's less than 2 weeks removed at this particular point in time from thumb surgery. So they know he's dealing with something. And if you don't disclose that in some form or fashion on the availability report, that's where Greg Sankey and the Mafia step in.
Somebody said, 580 Mike Honcho said, situational ethics, Grayson.
Situational ethics, yes.
Fair enough.
It's a lot of situational ethics that happen on the day of OU Texas every single year and in the week leading up to it every single year.
No wisecracker, I did not just call Brent Venables a liar.
Anyway, though, Keontez Lewis, I'm leaning towards him playing on Saturday right now, too, which is wild.
That is incredibly wild.
Would not have imagined we would be here 4 days ago when he was lying on the ground at the foot of the brick wall in the north end zone at Owen Field. I would expect he's probably listed as questionable tonight as well. But again, my expectation right now, and it's not as strong of a lean as I have with Mateer, but I would be more surprised if Keontez Lewis doesn't play than if he does. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Much more to cover, and we'll cover it all on the other side as we keep talking OU football and recruiting with y'all here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Stay right here.
The Ref Radio Sports Network is powered statewide by the insurance adjusters at Brown O'Haver. Fire, wind, theft, or tornado, we can help. Call 405-735-5510.
If you or your family and friends are looking for authentic German food owned by real Germans, look no further than Royal Bavaria. The goulash, soup, noodles, pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, and schnitzel, Royal Bavaria has something for everyone. If you're thirsty, they also have Bock, Dunkel, and all sorts of other beers. Royal Bavaria, 30 years of serving and treating everyone to authentic German food. Visit their website at royal-bavaria.com or call them for more information at 405-799-7666. Wunderbar.
Built for success? How about Built by Law? Law Custom Homes and Construction is here to build your next home. With over 30 years of experience, Barry and Angela Law pride themselves on building the best quality homes in Norman. Locally owned and operated, Law Custom Homes and Construction can also help you with carpet, tile, siding, windows, granite, and roofing. Don't wait. Call Barry Law at 405-919-7118 and let Law Custom Homes build your next quality home. That's 405-919-7118.
I'm Oklahoma Sooner quarterback John Mateer. My job is to move the ball down the field and get the Sooners across the goal line. If you've been injured in an auto accident, you need a pro to be the quarterback of your medical care needs. Dr. Martin Lopez and the OKC Car Crash Clinic are your premier teammates to help you on your road to recovery. Dr. Lopez is a specialty trained MD with decades of experience. Make your best play call and contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH. That's 405-862-7274 or visit okccrash.com.
The Mont invites you to come by and enjoy our high-quality food and drinks in our historic atmosphere. The Mont has won numerous awards, including Best Restaurant in Norman, Best Appetizer for our great queso, Best Exotic Drink for the original swirl, the Best Patio Dining for our beautifully landscaped patio. Come see the Town Tavern OU football scoreboards dating back to 1947. We'll see you at the Mont on the corner of Boyd and Classen, or call us at 329-3330.
It's spooky season here at Riverwind Casino.
And the monster jackpots are taking over.
Experience all thrills and chills on brand new electronic games.
Celebrate in style as a VIP in a private suite in our Showplace Theater.
Game like an MVP when you play with your wild card.
Drop in every Friday in October to win your share of our $100,000 Creepin' for Cash giveaway.
So keep the good times rolling at your favorite haunt.
And we'll see you at Riverwind Casino.
There's only one Red River Bash, and it's with a possum on Campus Corner, and it's on your way to OU, Texas this Friday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're driving down for the big game, stop and get fired up and fueled up with a possum, as they'll be set up at the Brody Valero in Marietta, exit 15 off of I-35. It's the Red River Bash with a possum. OU merchandise, free hot dogs, and fun and games. Get geared up for the OU Texas game at the Red River Bash with a possum, exit 15 off of I-35 at the Brody Valero in Marietta. Holiday season is right around the corner, and you know what that means. Holiday parties. From small events to big buyouts, Heyday Entertainment has the perfect party package for you. Book a bowling party or a play party at Heyday Norman, or shake things up with a pickleball bash at Hey Pickle Pickle, right off of I-35 and Indian Hills Road. Skip the stress and slay the holidays when you party with Heyday. Call 405-310-3500 to book your event today, or visit heydayfun.com. Heyday, where you choose your fun.
0% financing at Bob Moore Kia. Get 0% for 48 months on a new 2025 Kia Sorento X Pro today. With over 25 in stock, 0% right now. In-store or online at bobmoorekia.com.
Offer ends 10/12/25. 2025 Kia Sportage X Pro stock number SG323515. 0% financing for 48 months. $20.83 per 1,000 finance. WAC must finance through KFA. Excludes TTNL.
Back with you here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton here in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. Talking ball, talking recruiting. As we do every day on this here radio program. There's a cat that I'm going to go down and see on Friday night, Grayson. And I'm very excited to see what he looks like in person because he's been up to OU quite recently for a visit. Sooners are in pretty good standing in his recruitment. He's a member of the 2027 class, which obviously is off to a rollicking start for Oklahoma. I know you watched his tape a little earlier in the day. What do you think of Waco Midway running back Lathan Wissington?
So that's where you're going. You're going to go past Dallas down to Waco and then turn around and go back up?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Waco is not that far
It's
from
not that
Dallas
far.
in
No,
all
it's not.
actuality, which is good. It makes it – I was considering for a very brief moment in time going all the way down to San Antonio to watch one of OU's safety targets that plays down there, cat by the name of Eli Johnson. And then I realized I don't really want to be getting back to Dallas at 2:30 a.m. At that point, the morning of OU Texas.
Yeah,
That's
no,
probably not in the cards.
especially the part of Dallas where you're staying. Yeah, probably best that you're not trying to drive through there.
That's true because I got to go all the way back north.
Exactly. Exactly. From what you've told me. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Look, this kid's good. And when I watched the tape, I couldn't help but think he fixes a lot of the problems that Oklahoma's current running backs have. And what are some of the topics of discussion when we talk about some of OU's running backs' deficiencies? Not hitting holes, poor vision, not setting up your blocks and then exploding through the hole, being too tentative, right? We've also talked about how sometimes running backs, they don't finish their runs and fall forward. Well, those are two of the better traits of this kid, especially his vision and ability to hit the hole. He seems like a guy who has been coached well from a positional standpoint. And you combine that with the obvious talent that he's got speed, he can run through people, very strong kid, 6 foot, 185 pounds. My guess is he's about 215 before he really starts playing running back at the collegiate level. So a good frame on him. But his running style is the antithesis of some of the problems that we've seen with Oklahoma's running backs, at least my 2 seasons on this station covering the team.
Yeah, man, intrigued to see what it looks like. Oklahoma hasn't. I don't think Oklahoma has signed a player out of Waco since Tanner Mordecai, who was a Waco Midway product. Excuse me, he was a Waco Midway product in the 2018 recruiting class. I think that's the last time that Oklahoma has landed a kid from Waco, Texas. They've been in the mix for a few. Trey Wisner was one. Trey Wisner was a guy that Oklahoma was favored for a long, long time. Then all that kind of changed on a dime when he transferred to DeSoto. Imagine that. And then Kobe Black was another one that Oklahoma made a push for, but that wound up going to Texas.
Right, to go to Texas. Yeah. How into Kobe Black was Oklahoma?
So this was kind of a hilarious situation. I mean, he kind of strung OU along. I believe this was 2023. Yeah, the 2023 season.
His older brother, Corey, was still playing at Oklahoma State.
Yes, exactly. That's right, because I remember OU being in Stillwater for Bedlam, and Kobe was there.
Yes.
In the recruit section for that game.
Yeah, Corey was at Oklahoma State when I was a student there.
Uh-huh. And so all throughout the 2023 season, Kobe would keep telling Jay Valai and the Oklahoma staff, I'll be up this weekend for a game day visit. And then he wouldn't show. They'd be like, I had some stuff come up. I'll be up there whenever the next weekend I can be up there is.
Oh, goodness
and
gracious.
He wouldn't show up. And so finally, by like late October, it had become clear, okay, this is just not happening. And then he committed to Texas like 2 weeks later. So, yeah, Oklahoma, I believe they hosted him for an OV over that summer. They were trying to get him back on campus for a couple of unofficials as well, and it never happened because he was hot and heavy with Texas, and that's kind of where the road led for him. Everybody else was just kind of there. David from Norman asked, who is the Waco kid that was committed to Oklahoma, perhaps maybe even signed with Oklahoma, that got into legal problems? How recent is this, David? Offhand. Oh, no. Wait. Hang on. No, this does ring a bell. What was this kid's name?
This is my favorite part of the show.
No, I think Parrish Cobb. Parrish Cobb.
I do remember that
Yeah,
name.
you remember Parrish Cobb?
Yes.
That's his name, Parrish Cobb. This is probably a decade ago, if not a little more. Yes, Parrish Cobb did get into legal problems. Man, that was before I was covering recruiting. But yes, that story is embedded in the back of my head. I just had to summon the name. Parrish Cobb. A 405 listener wants to know, how come OU never gets kids out of DeSoto? The last time Oklahoma signed a DeSoto high school product was this class of 2014. It was a kid by the name of Vontre McQuinney. I don't believe he ever played a down at the University of Oklahoma. But OU has been shut out of DeSoto for a decade plus. And look, as to why OU never gets kids out of DeSoto, it's not one singular reason. It's a combination of a lot of things. But here's what I will say. A major contributing factor to Oklahoma's inability to effectively recruit DeSoto was because Lincoln Riley put him in a hole in that regard for the 5 years that he was Oklahoma's head football coach. Lincoln Riley was not good about developing and cultivating relationships with the coaching staff at DeSoto. And you know who was? Tom Herman and the Texas staff. And that continued once Steve Sarkisian took over. And so that's why you see Texas effectively recruiting DeSoto year in and year out, and Oklahoma getting completely stonewalled. I don't know when that's going to change. I don't know when OU will be able to break through. There was a thought that maybe, just maybe, you could do it with Boobie Feaster if Peyton Houston landed in Norman.
Right. But
now that that's no longer happening, man, I don't know. There's no end in sight to the drought.
Isn't the drought similar in Duncanville as well?
So it's not what I would categorize as a drought necessarily in the sense that Oklahoma's completely shut out. They did get Savion Byrd out of Duncanville in the class of 21. And to be honest, they just, for one reason or another, they haven't recruited a lot of Duncanville kids terribly hard. The ones that they have, they've just lost battles for. And, you know, like, I truly do think if Oklahoma wanted KJ Ford, they could have KJ Ford, but they've opted to back off of their pursuit of KJ Ford. And as I recall, it was a little bit before this, but the thing that for a lot of OU fans kind of validated the Sooners' decision to officially stop recruiting KJ Ford was when he took a swing at that kid from Waxahachie.
Got in that fight.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Somebody on the CD from Hockley, when you were trying to think of this, well, that last player's name, said Trey Matwire.
No, Trey Matwire got in some very different legal trouble. And wasn't he from White House, Texas? Wasn't that where he was from? Patrick Mahomes' hometown.
Yes.
I'm 70% sure Trey Matwire was from White House, Texas. Let me know on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Wayne in the 918 says, most OU people in media most OU people in media and Texas fans believe Mateer is playing.
Yes,
so why is it being kept a secret? I am not believing he's playing till I see it. Why is it being kept a quote-unquote secret, Wayne? Well, for one thing, again, he's less than 2 weeks removed from thumb surgery. And so you got to be delicate with a situation like this. And there is the very real possibility that Mateer does suffer a setback, knock on wood. Like, that could happen. And that could throw everything back into limbo. But also, this is just part of the gamesmanship that is inherent to this matchup. And there are so many examples of it over the years. Mike Leach's fake play sheet that Trent Smith dropped in front of the Texas sideline. Dylan Gabriel coming out in 2022 to do a full warm-up routine, even though there was a 0% chance he was playing that day. He put on the uniform, the shoulder pads, everything, went through the whole charade, and then we got the Davis Bevel experience. But, man, with as much as this game means to both of these programs, in so many different ways, right? Like, it's hard to quantify the significance of a win in this football game for either side, because it's not just as simple as, OU goes to 6-0, or, Texas saves their season and all of a sudden they're 4-2. No, obviously, the emotional component of this football game means that it matters so much more than one more win in the win column to each of these programs. So, you going to tip your hand if you're Brent Venables? Absolutely not. Not until you have to. All right, folks. Locked In is once again a wrap on this Wednesday. And since it is Wednesday, I will accurately report to you that Tyler McComas and Travis Davidson are going to be doing the rush coming up on the other side of the break. It's Teddy's off day. Travis will be filling his shoes. The rush comes your way next. 3 more hours of OU sports talk on the way. This is The Ref.